Hello, 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 hello. You are watching Comics and Variety, Indie Comic Stream number 8. I'm Doc Hogg, and with us is our boy Great Lott, also known as
Jeremy Lott.
Yeah, very good. You know your name. How about that?
Wow.
Alrighty. We are waiting on Carla Tornielli and John Gallagher, who are supposed to be here to discuss Grim Reaper 2. So while we are waiting, we will just, I'm going to get a couple
And let me just say, if they no-show, they're going to be grim repercussions.
Indeed. A couple of quick items to get out of the way here. First, my comic book tilt is now funding on Indiegogo. It has been funding for just over 2 weeks now. And as you can see here, I am about 42% of the way to my goal of $3,000. Lots of good perks. Check them out. The link to the campaign is in the description below. So go and back it before time runs out. Alrighty. The other thing that Jeremy and I wanted to talk about here. Oh, wait a minute. No. No. False alarm.
Okay.
Is this article that showed up in Bounding Into Comics. Turns out that the Valiant senior editor, Heather Antos, claims that America has the worst fans. And just reading it here real quick. Former Marvel Comics editor and now a senior editor at Valiant Comics, Heather Antos, declared that America has the worst fans. Twitter user...
she meant the nation, the United States of America.
Yes. Twitter user Hunk Tears asked, what thing has the worst fans? Antos, who is editing XO Man of War, responded with one word, America. Hunk Tears replied, you're currently in second place behind my friend who said Jesus Christ for best answer. This replies to, the replies to you are real bad, though. And Heather just doubled down. What can I say? The worst fans.
Yeah.
So let me ask
my boy Ibai Canellis had the best comeback if you scroll down.
Is this the who did?
Ibai Canellis. There it is.
That is a very good comeback.
So he posted a link to America Chavez, which is a god-awful comic book that Marvel used to publish and I guess will again publish. And he said, for once, we agree.
Yeah. Given all that's happening with the mainstream comic book industry right now, that is just insanely stupid. I don't
want to defend her because it's dumb and I don't agree. But she wasn't saying that American comic books have the worst fans. She was saying the nation America has the worst fans. When we actually know the nation China has the worst fans.
But here's the problem. Because of who she is, a lot of people are going to take that as the worst comic book fans.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I guess the question I would just like, she's the senior editor at Valiant. She's not editor-in-chief, but I don't even know if they have an editor-in-chief. So about as close as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Valiant is a comic book company that, I'm sure they're selling to other countries, but the main one they're selling to is America.
Mm-hmm.
And that just doesn't seem like a thing, a smart business decision to me to poke that beast. If Valiant wants to shift and do manga and try to sell to Japan, great. If they want to do, European editions and try to sell to Europe, more power to them. But if you're going to sell here, maybe unwise.
Yeah. No, it does not. It just seems like an incredibly stupid thing to do, given that, the state that the mainstream comic book industry is in. You've got no money coming in. You're really going to be, whenever this thing blows over and whatever remaining comic book stores can reopen, you're going to want a flood of people coming in and buying comic books. And it just, it's just one more way that the mainstream comic book producers seem to just be hell bent on alienating customers.
Yeah, I mean, it is one little stray comment and a follow up. It doesn't matter that much, but I think a lot of comic book pros have to think very carefully what sort of image do they want to be sending, and this is not the right one. Hey guys.
Hey, how are you?
How are you guys? Thank you for having us.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, we were just talking about Heather Antos saying that America has the worst fans. Yeah, just discussing that and how that was not particularly the brightest thing to say, given how much trouble the mainstream comic book industry is in, and that it's going to be, I think, anyways, it's going to be read as America has the worst comic book fans. So,
oh yeah,
not a particularly bright move, but
they keep doing it, and we keep growing.
I was kind of pissed you sprung this on me a little late, Doc. Because if I would have known we were doing this far enough in advance, I would have gone and gotten a milkshake.
Yeah, but where would you have gotten it from?
Well, the McDonald's drive-thru is still open, though probably the milkshake machine is broken. That tends to be how it goes.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
You gotta get it from Burger King.
There you go. Yeah, or Jack in the Box. They tend to be able to do milkshakes.
All righty. Well, let's move on to other things then. Just want to welcome John Gallagher and Carla Tornielli. Thank you both for joining us. And let me.
Thanks for having us, my friend. Thanks for having us. Honor to be here. Sorry we're a little late, but I guess we miscalculated the time difference or whatever.
Hey, better late than never.
Right. We made it. That's what counts.
So at any rate, this evening, Jeremy and I are going to be reviewing Feast or Famine by Dave Schwartz and The After Realm by Michael Deming. But first, we are going to be discussing John Gallagher and Carla Tornielli's The Grim Reaper, particularly The Grim Reaper 2. So tell us, what is a little bit about the plot of The Grim Reaper 2?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's a little bit hard to explain the plot of the second one without kind of going over the first one first, which is kind of a setup for the characters. These stories, they kind of stand on their own to feed their stories on their own, and even the character itself even though it's the same character, it has a whole different set of adventures. And even his character arc is a lot different in both stories. But the first one just kind of introduces us to the Grim Reaper. I have one leftover book here. And we find out that he is the Red Baron from World War I, and when he gets shot down, when his plane gets shot down, he gets passed on the mantle. He embraces the scythe and becomes the Angel of Death, right? Basically, the main premise of the first one is that the Grim Reaper sees himself kind of like in this situation where a group of scientists, particularly this scientist who's very much obsessed with death because he lost his mother at a very young age, he manages to bring back the dead from the afterlife. But what he ends up creating is kind of a Frankenstein monster that of course escapes his control, and the Grim Reaper cannot kill it because he doesn't have a soul. So the Grim Reaper then embarks in an adventure trying to kind of stop this creature and teach humanity a lesson about life and death and who rules. But the thing with the Grim Reaper in this universe is he's kind of a benevolent being. He retains a lot of his humanity. We see him in action, collecting the soul of a boxer who dies in the ring. But at the same time, we contrast it with the Grim Reaper saving a life from someone who's about to jump off a building and commit suicide, but he knows that the person will not die. So he kind of basically saves her from spending the rest of her life as a vegetable. So he is the good guy, and we take the hero's journey from the perspective of death. Now, so in the first one, we kind of see how this Grim Reaper is in charge of obviously taking mortal souls into the afterlife. But on the second one, we explore the other side, the other part of his job, which is to ensure that immortal beings never die. So we kind of expand the universe there, and we introduce gods and demons into it, and how they are, beyond these cosmic entities. They're beyond the laws of nature, and the Grim Reaper's job is to make sure that they never die, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the theme of the story is kind of like a detective murder story, because it starts out when one of these beings actually gets killed. So he has to investigate who managed to do that and with what, and how could that slip under his radar. So he gets kind of put on trial because he allowed this to happen, right? And remember, he's never supposed to let these gods die. And when one of them dies, then of course they accused him of letting it happen. So he kind of has to find out who's doing it, who's behind this whole, and then the plot, it gets broader when other players come into the story. But at the end, he has to kind of go and rescue the soul of this immortal being from hell and bring her back to the world of living. And that's kind of the main adventure and the main thing, and why you see this makeover of the Grim Reaper, both aesthetically and in many ways, because where the first one he was portrayed as a man with a hat, like the mysterious man with a hat, or just the Grim Reaper with a cloak, we now see him with a battle suit, because he knows he's going into hell, where everyone hates him, and so he's ready to kick ass, right? And he's going to be accompanied by a fire-breathing horse, because he's, of course, the kind of like a Ghost Rider type of character, and he will be his loyal companion throughout this adventure. And yeah, so that's basically what kind of the gist of what the second one is about. We have both books available in this campaign, and a third one, which is kind of a spin-off, a fun spin-off that we did of the Grim Reaper and other different characters, kind of like a fantasy, historical fantasy, if you will, where we explore the death of the Romanov family and the involvement of Rasputin, and a lot of different elements of the Grim Reaper characters that we're talking about in our books.
Okay. Can I ask a few questions? Is that okay, Doc?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me just a second here. I want to. Let me just show their campaign, which is they're already at $3,700. They are now in demand. So hey, good, congratulations. And this is kind of, I assume this top one here is the Demons in Hell.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, basically, the first we get introduced to these beings, right? Kind of borrow from Greek mythology, Egyptian and Hindu mythology, and all that, because they were very similar in a way, right? They always talk about this clash of, gods, if you will, and how they were at war. And it's always kind of interesting because they could never kill each other, right? Because they're immortal. So in the book, I explained they made a truce, and they created the entity of the Grim Reaper precisely to ensure that they will never die. So they make a truce, they make a peace pact of non-aggression. So when one of them gets killed, then the other band gets blamed. So in order for the Grim Reaper to preserve the peace agreement that was made between them, he needs to kind of fix this, right? So that's basically the main plot. And also a very important part of the plot is the weapon which is used to kill this entity, and so it will lead him through like this detective journey in which he has to find out who's doing that.
Okay.
Very good. Go ahead with your questions, Jeremy.
Yeah. What about he has his kids, right? Are they going to show up in the second book as well?
Yeah, absolutely. In the first one, we kind of left off with a cliffhanger, and that will be, of course, resolved. We'll pick up there, and the kids will play a very important role in both the first and the second story, and even in the spin-off. So, like, I always encourage people to also back the spin-off, because even though it doesn't have his kids in it, it will have the mom, and so we'll find out who the mom was and how how that came to be.
Yeah, if I were to have titled the first one, I'm just saying if it was me, I would have titled it "Death and His Kids."
Yeah.
where did the idea come to you to do why are you obsessed with death? I guess I would say, like, why is that character interesting to you?
Well, it's a good question. We had many projects lined up, and I felt like they were very different from one another. They're not all death related. They're not all Grim Reaper related. Um, I do want to give it a break after this one and move on to different projects that we want to show that have nothing to do with this. But I felt like the Grim Reaper was a good place to start for me because it was one of the most solid stories that I have written. When I came up with it, I was actually working on something completely different. But my best friend from the army passed away, and just on the same time, a good friend of mine lost his little son because he drowned. So I went to the funeral of the little kid, right? And I've never seen something so haunting in my life. I went to the funeral, and I just remembered that his father was just as calm as can be, right? I never seen someone so relaxed about it. Even people would come up to him crying and be like, "Dude, you gotta cry," you know. But he was like, "It's just I I have faith that my son is in a better place, you know." And so it wasn't that he was just a bad dad. He was a wonderful father, but it was just that he was very hopeful. You know what I mean? He was trying to look at the brighter side of things. And so I wasn't one of the friends that was telling him like, "Look, you know, you gotta let it out," or whatever, which he did eventually, right? Or it wasn't like he was holding it in. It was just like he was like, you know, death is just a natural part. And it was my son's time, even though he was a brief time with me, he filled my life with joy for the very little time with him. And that really inspired me. And I was like, shit, man, you know, I never looked at death from that perspective. So I went ahead and made him the good guy of the story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you talk about the spin-off. Is that the one here with Rasputin in the storyline?
So yes. This is so basically the story goes a little bit like that, right? Rasputin is fatally ill. He's gonna die soon, but he doesn't know it, right? But his health is decaying very rapidly. But the thing is that Rasputin, because he was into like the dark magic, you know what I mean, into necromancy and things like that, he actually was friends with the Grim Reaper. So the Grim Reaper visits him and tells him that you know, his time is coming soon. Basically, giving him a heads up as like a friend, right? As a friend, he's telling him, "I'm coming for you soon," and so I'm just letting him know because you're a friend. So Rasputin accepts it. He's like, you know, I kind of had a feeling, but then he invites the Grim Reaper to have a drink with him, and they drink and they party for one last time, I guess you could say. And so, you know, just like friends teasing each other, Rasputin challenges the Grim Reaper to an arm wrestle competition, and they bet, right? The Grim Reaper says, "No way you can beat me," but Rasputin says, "I bet I can beat you." So the Grim Reaper tells him, "If you actually manage to beat me, then I won't take your soul. You won't die. I will let you live a lot longer." You know, and they do that, but Rasputin cheats the Grim Reaper, and the Grim Reaper has no option. So he's like, "Look, even though your name is written on my list, the best I can do is just give you this protection." So he gives him a medallion, and so long as you're wearing it, no one can kill you, or nothing can happen to you that will make you die. And Rasputin wears it, and that's what he uses to cure the Romanov prince, who was also sick, right? So what ends up happening is, if you look at the history of Rasputin, this guy was shot, this guy was stabbed, this guy was thrown in a frozen river, he was poisoned, many attempts on his life, and they couldn't kill him, right? On the same night. So I'm explaining that all of that happened, and they couldn't kill him because he was wearing the medallion. Until they managed to take it off, they were actually able to kill him. But someone else inherits the medallion, and it gets passed on to one of the Romanov girls, whose body was never found. And so right there, then I start like a whole different story. And thematically speaking, I'll say it's more of it's obviously fantasy, it's obviously historical fiction, but at the same time, it's kind of a love story as well.
Okay. And so the spin-off is called The Curse of the Medallion.
Yes.
Okay. Which I was just, when you said that, I was like, okay, so is that part of the campaign? And I went back and then I saw it was, and I'm like, well, crap, did I back that? And I did. I accidentally backed it, so I get both. Yay!
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, the Grim Reaper one is available on the second one as well. If any of you guys watching missed out on it, you can still get it, and you'll be open for a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, let me.
Your second campaign did better than your first, right?
Definitely, yeah. I think we did. Would it be 200% more? Yeah.
Oh, very good. Okay, let me. Let's just take a quick look at your web page here, and we'll.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one good thing that I want to announce, if you guys haven't heard yet, is that we have this feature perk for $30 that includes 3 books with that that's like over 100 pages. And you guys who have backed the first one, you know that the quality of the cardstock, the quality of the glossy cover, and all that. But the second book is also going to be a perfect bound book. So I'm very excited to see how that comes out, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it as well.
Yeah,
at a really good price.
And the artwork, of course, was fantastic. So it's so at the Inferno level, you get the copy, basically a copy of hard copy of everything. Correct?
Yes, the hard copy of everything, just for $30.
Cool.
Underworld is what? That's just digital.
That's just digital, and that's a copy of issue number 2.
And Hades is the digital of copy 2 and the spin-off.
Yes.
Thanatos. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
That's the copy of issue number 2, just issue number 2.
Physical copy. All right.
40 pages plus, and perfect bound. The whole deal.
Yeah. And Sharon here is that's the Grim Reaper 2 and the spin-off.
So it will be the super pack of PDFs, including 1, 2, and the spin-off.
Gotcha.
3 books in digital form.
Now, what is Sarah? Okay, just physical copy of the sign. Physical. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one I backed.
Because
I already had number 1.
Absolutely. And by the way, if you requested, it's kind of an option there. We're pretty open to like our fans and things like that. If requested, we made an alternative cover for number 1. So if you back the second time, then number 1, and you want the variant cover, it's optional too.
Yeah, very good, very good. And a couple of these here, you can actually get yourself drawn into the comic book. Is that correct?
Yes, a few spots left, and it's not only that you're like a cameo or anything. We kind of made you into a part of the story. That you get called out by name and things like that. Yeah. And also we have that add-on T-shirt. That's just a T-shirt for people who already back the books, or and they want to have the art. Everybody will get a free pinup because we did hit our $2,000 stretch goal. And yeah, so really good deal. Really good deals in this campaign for sure.
Very cool.
Okay, anything else?
Back it if you can. It's gonna be in demand for a little bit, and we have some really, really great perks. We have also a mystery box for $300. It's a mystery box with merchandise from the Grim Reaper and from Waika Comics. Because, like I said, you asked me about the Grim Reaper, but what we want to do is beyond that. We have other projects, and we kind of want to include them in what's coming in future projects as well.
Okay, can you give us a little taste of what's coming next?
Oh, absolutely. I can talk all day, but my the next project, without spoiling too much, is gonna be called Cosmo Monkey, and it's about a Russian experiment. It's about an animal who one of the first animals that gets sent into space, and he lands on an alien planet where he kind of gets genetically modified by this alien race, and he gets sent back to Earth. And he was obviously a sentient being, but when he comes back to Earth, he's now just as intelligent as any human, probably more so than most humans, and he just wants to get back into the lab and free the rest of his family who's still being experimented on. But he is very violent about it, so it will be a fun time for sure.
So, like the slogan will be "Free the monkeys."
Yeah, that should be it.
Hey, Doc, ask me what I think of this book.
What?
Say it again?
Ask me what I think of this idea.
Oh, ask. Yeah, I thought you were saying ask him. I was
Ask me.
okay, what do you think of this book? Okay.
That about says it all, guys.
Yeah. Well, I think the best thing about the Grim Reaper was you actually gave him. I mean, number one, it was like a guy trying to get through his day instead of this mysterious figure, and you gave him kids that represented different types of deaths, and they're like kids. They can be incredibly annoying and cause all sorts of problems, which they do. So
yeah, absolutely.
It was like it was like the Brady Bunch meets
the Brady Bunch in hell.
There you go,
or something. Okay,
well, you guys enjoyed it.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming on and discussing your comic, and best of luck, and I'm sure we'll be in touch soon.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much for having us, guys. It was a pleasure. And everybody watching, back the Grim Reaper while it's still available. Thank you again, and best luck for you guys.
Do you have an idea how much longer it's going to be available?
We're gonna be fulfilling in June. The first, whoever's back until then is gonna get fulfilled. Then after that, we're gonna do like about the same time. So another 3 months after that, like the same, amount for people to be back and enough time for us to order from the printer and all that. So we'll be launching Cosmo Monkey around July, something like that, August. So around that time, we'll probably close the campaign.
Okay.
All righty. Again, thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Absolutely. You too, guys. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
All righty. I'm actually really looking forward to that. The first issue was, I think we both really liked the art, and I don't think we actually reviewed that one on this. That was one of my other regular videos. But
it was an incredibly ambitious comic.
Yeah,
it didn't always live up to that ambition, but I often find that if you shoot really high, and even if you miss a little bit, you still you get some you get a pretty good launch.
Yeah, my only problem with it is I do wish there'd been a few more splash pages, and I kind of thought the origin story just seemed a little superfluous to me. Like, why did we need an origin for the Grim Reaper? I mean, everyone knows who the Grim Reaper is.
Oh, but in this case, that it sort of was necessary in the sense that they were telling you that it's not the same guy. It's a thing that gets passed on.
Well, you could just kind of, I don't think it mattered that much. I mean, you could certainly do your own. I think if you're going to do an origin story of the Grim Reaper, it should be its own standalone comic. I kind of think you could have used those pages for some other things and just started with, the Grim Reaper isn't what you think he is. He's like this. And I think that would have worked better. All righty, let's go on to, why don't we start with, let's see here. Might as well start with After Realm, which is
the After Realm right here.
Indeed. Yes. And I enjoyed this comic a fair amount. There were one or two spots where I couldn't quite figure out what was going on, but overall, I like the art. I like the story. It's it's kind of epic fantasy, which is not really my favorite genre, but I did enjoy this book, and they've done a lot with this character who is Una
Lightfoot.
Una Lightfoot, and let's see here. Yeah, this is the opening page here, and she's writing about how her world above the surface came to an end. It was attacked by the god Loki, and they've had to retreat. And she wants out. She wants to go back to her old world, which is now more dangerous. This is Elfheim, where the world that she loved. I mean, I like the art here. I mean, there's so much nice detail. You've got these buildings, these windows with light coming out of them, a tree growing up here through a kind of building. Just the sun setting in the background. It's just really nice detail. And
Michael Avon Oeming is the artist of Powers, co-creator, and he's done a lot of other stuff. He's a very, very good artist. And his Taki Soma is his wife, and I believe she does the colors on this, maybe edits, I don't know. This is it's an image book that's going to be published quarterly. It's I think it's 48 pages an issue, so it'll be the equivalent of 8 issues a year, or 8 or 9, depending on how you do page numbers. He crowdfunded the first one. I think he'll crowdfund subsequent ones as well on Kickstarter. I backed this. I did it for a number of reasons. One is because I like his art. 2, the concept seemed intriguing. 3, at a time when gingers are being erased from comics, he is adding a ginger character in. So yay. I don't know. It was and I was not disappointed with what we got here. I think in some ways it's kind of a spiritual successor to the comic book Fables.
That one.
Yeah, at some point, I mean, it's a lot. It's a huge commitment because it went for 150 issues just in the main series, and there were a couple of spin-off series. If you ever have some time to kill, I would suggest going to the library and just taking out the volumes one at a time and reading them. Or, I mean, buy it. That's another possibility. It's quite a great series. But the idea of that series is that you have all these fairy tale creatures who've been exiled from fairy tale land into our world, right? Until they can take it back from the the big bad guy, right? And in this case, it's a little different because and they only sort of hint at it in this issue, but it's the other way around. It's fairy tale, like the place that she's exiled to is its own little pocket dimension, basically. But what she was a part of was kind of a mashup of the Lord of the Rings and Norse mythology, and that's been invaded by you see that it's been invaded by you're not sure all of who it is, but it's people with technology, et cetera, and sort of a twist ending. You find out that the fairy tale realms have been invaded by something like our world.
Okay. Now I like the character Una here because she is she's in this, she looks at this point to be something of an adolescent, and she's in this rebellious phase, and she really wants out of where she's at.
Yeah.
And she's
a kid and she feels stuck.
Yeah, she feels very stuck, and you certainly sympathize with her on that, but she's like a kid. I mean, like someone that age. She's reckless. She makes a lot of bad decisions without really considering the consequences.
Sure. I mean, she's all of us. Like, I mean, most of us, we were kids. We chafed under some sort of constraint, right?
Yeah.
And we tried to find a way out of it as we were trying to come into our adulthood. And you definitely see that with his character.
Yeah. This is basically the scene where one of Loki's minions attacks.
I looked at that page and I said, Doc is loving this. You're always talking about the importance of splash pages. You don't get any splashier than this page. And I also like the sense of perspective you see, because you could see how big Fenris is versus how small these characters are.
Yeah. It's no, this was a wonderful page. Absolutely love this. Okay. Here is they're basically being invaded, and they defeat Loki, but they have to retreat now because the upper world is too dangerous. This is her mom, and she's not particularly thrilled either. But Okay, this is, Una just, yeah, and it's kind of funny because she kind of has this sort of combination of what you would expect an elf to say, and at the same time, kind of, typical teenage modern day language like crow farts.
Yeah,
And,
this isn't like a particularly funny book, but it had this is the funniest page in the book. Because you see that she's got this like guardian goat that watches over her, right? And her interactions with him are pretty funny. And in this page, I just love where they're going back and forth, and she says to him, "Bah," and he goes, "That is not your word to use."
Yeah, and she's supposed to be doing some chores, and she doesn't want to do them, and so she ends up going off on an adventure here, following this elf who is in the elf it was the elf rangers,
Like
kicked out of the rangers, and which she has been kicked out of, and she's able to follow him because she's able to travel silently. You get the sense that she's actually overall more talented than most of the characters in the Rangers, except for creating when it comes to creating weapons. But she follows him, and eventually he does see her, and she I know she actually reveals herself, and he says that he's been sent to go check up on Loki and make sure that Loki's still imprisoned. And then she gets there and she looks upon Loki, and Loki suddenly is able to get inside her head. And Loki's trying to tempt her, trick her into letting him out, because he says, I can let you out as well. And here was this is where a little bit of it kind of fell down for me. I mean, later she goes back and to let him out, because she gets back in the Rangers and she gets kicked out again, and so she goes back to to get his help. But then he gets inside her head, and I guess by getting inside her head somehow figures out how to get outside, to break out of his prison.
Yeah.
And the thing was that it's like, here she is. It looks like she's out. She's escaped. She's outside. This foot here actually belongs to the Statue of Liberty. But here was the thing. I mean, she decided on an earlier page right here to, crow farts. What was I thinking? Get what I want and put everyone in danger. It seems like she changed her mind. So
she did.
How did she get out then?
Well, we don't know that. That's set in the future. That like what you see is a jump to the future at the end, to show you that like this is something that is telegraphing something that comes later.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Well then, excuse me. That's kind of my bad then. And
I get it. You can miss things like that all the time.
Yeah, and I do.
Well, I do too. So that's actually one of the reasons I like doing the show with you, is because we can see what we missed.
All righty. Anything else about this comic book?
I really like it. I don't. I don't have a lot of criticisms, honestly. It's just it hit. Later issues might stumble. This one didn't.
Okay. All righty. Let's move on then to hang on, just moving on to Feast and Famine, and making sure. Yeah. Okay. And I don't know why it should not be. Hang on just a second here.
And that was my pick this week. This is Doc's.
Yeah. And where did these? I came into this then thinking I was pretty well organized this week. Oh well. All right.
Clear as mud, right?
There you go. All right, this is Feast or Famine by Dave Schwartz, and the premise here is that you're kind of in an alternate dimension where this guy here, his name is Nikola Tesla, and his partner here is Albert Stein. And they have like a Samuel Edison, which is obviously a Thomas Edison, a JP Morgana, was it? Whoever's playing JP is.
Yeah, they're all very closely related to people that we know of.
But it is all taking place in a an alternate dimension, and they do kind of stick close to the history here. I mean, Tesla here is working for Edison, which is what actually happened in real life. They give Tesla the credit here for inventing the phonograph. I don't think he actually did, as far as I know. The conflict that they had was, I think Tesla was actually improved some generator for Edison, and Edison promised to pay him a certain amount and then reneged on it. So I think that's where the conflict came. But whatever, it's an alternate dimension.
But they do get the AC/DC conflict, right?
Yeah, I mean and then
except in this case, you have Edison electrocuting himself.
Yeah, Edison takes credit for the phonograph, and Tesla decides, to hell with you, I'll start in on my own. And basically, what Tesla is trying to do is he's trying to reach life in another on another planet, and it's. I love the art here. It's that look on his face there, almost kind of maniacal mad scientist kind of look. And
if I showed you this,
no,
you're gonna want to zoom in on it. This is awesome. Or I guess maybe I do it. I don't know how that works.
Here you go.
Here in a sec. Should I do screen share?
That isn't going to unless do you have a do you have a viewer PDF kind of thing of that?
No. I this is my own.
No,
this is my own original. Okay, so I backed this comic book in its Indiegogo, and one of the things was that you could get a drawing that also used watercolors.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the things, and I backed that tier, and he said, "Well, what do you want?" And I said, "How about something like this?" And I sent him a picture of King Kong, right? But I said, "Well, something along these lines." And this is what he turned in. And it's just one of the best things that I own. Yeah, he's a very, very good artist. Let's see if I can a little closer.
Yeah, we can see it very well. It's really nice.
I'm very, very happy to own this.
Very, very cool. Alrighty, so let's see, what else do I like here? Here he is with his assistant Albert Stein, and this is after they have Tesla has discovered that there is life on another planet. There's so much wonderful detail here,
Yeah.
Even though it's dark over here and you just kind of see a plain floor, he still adds in all the diagrams and papers there on the table. It's just not a lot of wasted space here. That's for sure.
This was put out by Alterna Comics,
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of comics that Alterna does that look quite good. I don't think any of them look quite as good as this one.
Yeah. Here they're sending out some kind of probe to the other planet and to collect data. This one doesn't actually work, but then they later decide they're going to send it out and return it right away and see if that works. And that actually does. I love this scene here on the train. I
don't see anything being displayed.
Oh, well, shoot. Hang on. Oh, whoops. So sorry.
Too bad. So sad.
Yeah, let's try again. All right. Okay, let me go back. This was the we saw that one. This is the one I was talking about, the very nice detail here, with even though it's dark and fairly plain floor, you still have the papers and diagrams on the table.
Yeah.
Not, like I said, not a lot of wasted space.
The other
This
thing,
here,
if you could just go back what for 1 second, they're talking about stuff, right?
yeah.
And it may or may not be exciting, but they're just sitting around and talking about stuff.
Mhm.
He shows how you can represent that dynamically, and make it exciting.
Yeah, he does. Some folks over at Marvel in DC, not all of them, but some of them should definitely take a lesson. But yeah, no, it is definitely.
He's constantly shifting the camera around. He's trying to capture dramatic moments, gestures, whatever.
Yeah,
Anything.
he's shifting the characters around. You're holding up his hands, folding the arms, leaning in here, and then he's one's leaning back. Stein is leaning back. Tesla's leaning over the table. It's just it's a lot of wonderful movement here. This is where they send out the probe to try to collect data, and it doesn't actually work. But they decide to change how they do it. The probe will go out. You notice they ended up giving up. It's a nice little, he's looking at a file here and it says failure. And so they're trying to figure out what to do. And they decided to change their tactics a little bit, send the probe out and send it back, have it come back immediately. And that ends up working. And then they're ready to go travel off to this outer space area, wherever it is. And the interesting thing is Teska keeps having these dreams of something evil that's going on. And I particularly like this art because, it brings the evil into focus. It's dark, and then, the red circles here that are like eyes, and then it comes more into focus with the eyes, and then you get the eyes and the teeth, and it's like all of a sudden it's rushing at you. I love this page. I absolutely love
This page is a nightmare.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's not. You could literally just look at this page for a while and internalize it, and wake up screaming tonight.
Very much so. This is shortly after they've made it to the new planet, and I love this splash page as well. I mean, you've got so many different things going on here. You've got a city under a dome, and it's one color, and there's lots of nice detail. He's flying up in his spacesuit. The rockets have it's got this nice kind of pinkish glow here. The space out here, the lightning. I mean, it's just this was beautiful. I mean, just so much art in here is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Let's see. Now they finally encounter the aliens, and the premise is basically what is behind Teska's nightmares. What's driving that.
Yeah.
And they later find out that this is Teska over here, and this is, again, another wonderful splash page. And this is Stein. Stein has been taken over by this, I guess it was kind of artificial intelligence that took over and did not care for organic life forms. So it's basically been traveling throughout the universe, trying to take over.
And incorporating everything.
Yeah, incorporating organic life forms into what is. It's kind of like a little bit like Star Trek's The Borg. Everybody becomes part of this one consciousness, and this was kind of the one thing that I didn't like. If there was anything I didn't like about the book, they go into a big explanation. They've taken over Stein. They're going to now take over Tesla, and then send them back to Earth so that they can take over everyone, absorb everyone on Earth. And they're kind of explaining here what they are and what they've done. And they
that is so beautiful.
Yeah, that is an incredible splash page here. And this happens, I think. Yeah, this occurs when they have been sent back to Earth, and something happens to them, and they wake up in their transporter, and Stein's asking what happened, and Teska says, "I knew something was wrong from the nightmares, and so I made some modifications to the machine so that if something happened to us, we would return to our original form." So basically, he's defeated them. These beings, he's defeated them in some way. And what they end up doing is they decide to destroy this technology. They destroy all the plans and everything, and decide that it's too dangerous. That was my one gripe, though, is that the solution came so fast. You
Sure.
didn't get a sense that the Earth was in any real danger. It might have been nice to have the fail-safe. Somehow, people getting infected on or absorbed on Earth. In other words, make it a little more of a nightmare before the fail-safe kicks in, and
that's a good point. They get a little ways toward their goal, and then all of a sudden it kicks in.
Yeah, boom! It's just
Yeah.
It's just it didn't. I mean, they were frightening creatures in that sense, but you come back to Earth and boom, it's over. It seemed abrupt and quick, but that was the only real problem I had with it. I mean, the dialogue was very good. The story was very, flowed very well.
I think there are multiple problems at the ending. You've pointed one out that I hadn't even quite thought of. But it also goes on a little bit after this and tries to do a kind of another setup, and I don't know. It's not the world's greatest ending. I'll give you that.
The last 15 to 20 minutes of Lord of the Rings Part 3 movie.
Yeah, like you have the pillow scene,
Yeah.
Like you could have just not had the pillow scene. It's okay not to have the Hobbit pillow scene.
Yeah. Just wrap it up by saying, we're destroying the technology, getting rid of the plans, and
yeah. I mean, the other thing is that they have in the Lord of the Rings, they have the Hobbit pillow scene, but they don't have the scourging of the Shire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like what? Anyways, but I digress. I think that the ending is the weakest part of this book.
Yeah.
And that happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the journey was good. It ended a little, both too abruptly and too longly, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But not at all sorry that I bought and read this and got that beautiful artwork along the way.
Me neither. I just really enjoyed the story here. It was pretty original. I mean, taking this, an alternate dimension, going through the Tesla story, bringing in, because Tesla and Tesla and Albert Einstein were certainly not contemporaries. I mean, I think if Tesla wasn't dead when Einstein came up with relativity, the theory of relativity, he wasn't long for this world.
Yeah, I mean, Tesla was first, and then along comes Einstein, and there was some overlap, I think. And
they were just very different. I mean, Tesla was, inventor, and Einstein was a theoretical. At any rate,
yeah.
It's an original story. It was. In many ways, it is. I mean, obviously not the the creatures absorbing everyone. That's not original. But they took that and they put it in something that was a pretty original story. And like we both said here, the art is wonderful. And no, I was really happy when I to get this as well. If you get a chance to buy it, I would encourage you to
I think it's only like $10 too, or something like that. I'd have to look this up. Like if you let me look it up on Amazon, because I think it's only about $10. And my God, why not? Second, I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, $9.95.
That's a good deal. It's a very good deal.
So get on that, people. Yes.
All righty. Anything else?
No, I think we're good. Oh, wait, no, I apologize. Time. Finally, if you missed out on Movie Men and want to get a digital copy, it is now available from the Wicked store.
Oh, very cool.
And I'll give that link to Doc, and we'll include it in the apparatus, or if we don't do it this week, then we'll do it next week.
Absolutely. And we'll do a little promo for your book at the beginning, so we'll do that as well. So.
Okay.
All righty. Thank you, everyone, for viewing. This, of course, will be on YouTube afterwards. So if you want to go back and take another look, it will be there. And thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate it as always. And we'll be back next week.